If there's anything that will help determine what type of life you might have in the next 10 to 20 to even 40 years, it's this. This is the future. No, not Egypt. Sorry, Egypt. This is the future. The pyramid. And no, not because some futuristic aliens built them. They didn't. Probably. Okay, back on topic. Why is the pyramid the future? Well, it's not. But there's one type of pyramid that time and time again has helped experts predict global instability, and that's the population pyramid. Quick digression for those of you who don't know what population pyramids are. They show the size of genders, generations, and the general growth in a country. They also help explain why certain historical events occurred, why current events are happening now, and how future events might play out. So why is Russia invading Ukraine? The answer to these questions is never simple. However, in this case, it's extremely simple. The answer doesn't need think tanks, strategic analysts, or keynote speakers. The answer is Russia is running out of us, people. The more years that pass, the less Russians. Even out of those Russians, more and more will be ethnic minorities, and less will be ethnic Slavic Russians. Look at Russia's population pyramid. Not super healthy, is it? Here's Nigeria's for comparison. Okay, now why does any of this matter? Again, simple. Russia's current borders are naturally indefensible. The country is a flat plain. This unfortunate trademark of Russia has been capitalized on by invaders multiple times in history, by the Mongols, Swedish, French, and Germans, to name a few. Many times, Russia has saved itself by drawing the enemy into the vastness of Russia and using scorch and burn tactics to disrupt the enemy's supply lines and ability to live off the land. The winter helps too. By the time the enemy is deep into Russia, a huge army has been put together, feeding off the massive Russian population, and the enemy is pushed out. Now Putin and the current ruling class of Russia cannot rely on, and as time goes on increasingly cannot rely on, that large population factor to save them. So he needs to find his country naturally defensible borders. Well, just over 30 years ago, Russia had naturally defensible borders. During the Cold War, two major world orders were competing in Europe. Europe was divided by the Iron Curtain, with the Communist Soviets and their Warsaw Pact on one side, and the democratic NATO states on the other. Because of the satellite states that made up the Warsaw Pact, the Soviets, who were the predecessor to modern-day Russia, were able to control the narrowest gaps into the North European plain, the plain that makes Russia so susceptible to land invasion. This is part of the reason Putin believes the fall of the Soviet Union was the greatest tragedy in the 20th century. Russia has lost those gaps, and now has a much larger frontier to protect, and again, an increasingly smaller population to defend that large frontier. If we look at the situation in the present, Russia wants to regain former Soviet territory in order to plug these gaps, and it doesn't have too much time to do so, because it soon won't have the power, prestige, and manpower to do so, because, for the billionth time, its population is nosediving. Okay, you might be thinking, why would they have to regain territory to plug these gaps? Who would invade Russia in the 21st century, right? Well, you have to remember, it's built into the Russian psyche that invasion is always possible, and preparations must be made. Russia also feels the West has constantly excluded and antagonized them, and is thus suspicious. This attitude was brought on by actions following the fall of the Soviet Union. In 1991, Russia signaled interest in joining NATO and was rejected. Furthermore, many Western nations continuously assured Russia it would not expand NATO eastward after the fall of the Soviet Union. These assurances turned out to be lies. Former Soviet republics such as Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia have joined NATO. Russia seriously wants to stop any more former Soviet republics from doing the same. In 2008, the former Soviet Republic of Georgia was eager to join NATO. Assisting self-proclaimed separatist regions of South Ossetia and Abkhazia, Russia crushed Georgia in a 12-day war that was largely ignored by NATO, as they were distracted by entanglements in the Middle East. Now, similar to the Georgian invasion, Russia is assisting the self-proclaimed separatist republics of Luhansk and Donetsk. They have launched a full-scale invasion on 3 fronts, as I'm sure many of you know by now. So for the last time, why is Russia invading Ukraine? Ukraine has been getting closer and closer to the West and toyed with ideas such as joining NATO or the EU. Russia is running out of people, which means they want to retake naturally defensible borders while they have the capable manpower to threaten Europe and exert strength. In short, the invasion was inevitable for Russian national security, and they're invading while they still have the chance, they still have the people, and while Ukraine is still not a NATO member. Now, as we near the end, I must confess I lied to you all this entire video. I was correct when I said these things are never simple. In reality, there are multiple factors which play into this invasion, whether cultural history, gas and oil, or securing the Black Sea and warm water ports. However, strange demographics and populations, whether increasing drastically or decreasing drastically, are usually a major factor in predicting instability, and it's a factor that will continue to be utilized on this channel to identify future wars and global changes. As for the tragic war in Ukraine, our hearts are with the people. Now, what do you think? Will Russia achieve its strategic goals? Will the invasion work? Will they continue to push into other parts of Europe to plug the gaps? Time will tell. Leave your speculations in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.